Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Ceremonial activity 3.3 will be rescheduled to another meeting. We do have 5 added communications tonight, 3 of them respecting 510, which is correspondence on the demolition of the heritage properties on King Street East, the Gore Park. 513, correspondence from Dan Dos Santos respecting bylaw amendment for 10 Dennis Avenue in Flamborough to be received and referred to the GM of Economic Development for appropriate action. And 514 from Mr. Turkstra respecting the proposed noise bylaw amendment to be received and referred to the General Manager of Planning and Economic Development for appropriate action. And 1 added notice of motion tonight respecting an amendment to Appendix A of Item 11 of our GIC report respecting the 2017 tax-supported user fees. And we have an added bylaw from the AFA meeting held this week. It's to authorize the signing of an agreement between the City of Hamilton and the Ministry of Transportation related to funding provided under the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program. And finally, 1 added private confidential matter. It's the stadium litigation update.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Green, seconded by Aidan Johnson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any declarations of interest?
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor. Just before we move on to declarations of interest and ceremonial activities, very quickly, I'd like to acknowledge that today is Bell Let's Talk Day. Bell Let's Talk Day. It's a day of deep significance to many in the community. This is a day, as many in the audience will know, when we are urged as a community to uncensor ourselves on the topic of mental illness and mental health and make sure that all those who are our friends and loved ones know that we are there for conversation about mental wellness whenever that conversation is helpful and needed. So I'd like to thank Bell Media for creating Bell Let's Talk Day, which has really become a significant event, and express to anyone listening, including my colleagues, if you ever need to talk, I am there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Certainly. And if you tweet today, and I encourage you to tweet and Twitter often, 5 cents of every tweet will be collected and donated by Bell Canada. So that's a positive thing. Thank you for that. So back to any declarations of interest other than Bell Canada and Bell Let's Talk. Hearing none, thank you very much. I am pleased to have an opportunity to present to you the winners of the Sovereign Medal for Volunteers in the City of Hamilton, 3 of our esteemed citizens. The Sovereign Medal is awarded by His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, the Governor General of Canada. It is a special honour recognizing the exceptional volunteer achievements of Canadians from across the country in a wide range of fields. The medal is bestowed upon living Canadians who've made a significant, sustained and unpaid contribution to their community in Canada and abroad. Any advisory committee to the Chancellery of Honours reviews the nomination and makes recommendations to the Governor General. So I'm honoured to present the Sovereign Medal for Volunteers on behalf of the Governors General, and I ask our 3 recipients to please join me at the podium. And I will, as they do that, I will introduce them and appropriately award them, and then ask them if they would say a few words. So first up is Linda Pleward, is a resident of Stoney Creek. She has been advocating for the safety of Canadian children for over 10 years through the 2 organizations she's founded, Protecting Canadian Children and the Children's Army. So, Linda, thank you so much. And congratulations. So, that's the honor. I'm sure they'll want to take a photo. This is going to be the best photo ever. Okay. And Linda, a few words, if you would.
Hi, I was told I only have a couple of minutes, but I want to thank everybody for being here, and also the people that come from Alberta that supported me, the mother of Delana, Sullivan, and Jamie. Please, thank you so much from all the way from Alberta. And And we also have people from New Brunswick, Sylva McCaughlin and Anna Gerard, she's a writer and a film producer as well. Thank you, Anna, so much for being here, and Sylva. And of course, my family and my friend and my grandchildren being here. I really thank you very much. I had a presentation done for all of you to see really what I was doing. Unfortunately, I was told that I couldn't do it. So therefore, what I'm going to do is just to tell you exactly what's happening under the Child Protecting Services, which is called the CAS. Across Canada, we have a... Hello? Across Canada, we have 2,595 children that have died either in foster home or group home under the supervision of the Children's Aid. That is unacceptable. This is not who we stand as Canadian, but it does represent what the system have become. So today I'm asking all the Canadians that we need to fix that. And the solution is all of us. It's provincial, municipal, federal, and all the Canadian citizens across Canada. Also, what really scares me is the future for the next generation. I fear for my grandchildren. I fear for the next generation because the Children's Aid has become so powerful. It's more powerful than the police, than the police system actually. And they can come and apprehend your children anytime you want. And Delana Sullivan is a prime example of that. No complaint, no warrant, nothing. The workers saw a beautiful, healthy child, and she decided that they were going to apprehend that child, and they did. And that child died 6 days after that. So we have thousands of stories that I can tell you, too many to tell you, but what I'm doing, I do not wish this on my worst enemy, because when I decided to try to be a voice for those children, it was the hardest thing in the world that I have done, because I entered a dark world, a world that none of you here wants to hear probably or see. But we must talk about it, and we need to talk about it, and we need to protect our children. And thank you very much for this honor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda, for all of your work on behalf of children in Canada. Thank you so much. Ron Arner is our next award winner, medallion winner, is from Dundas, and for 32 years has volunteered with the Hamilton Unit Council of the Canadian Cancer Society. He served as a board president and raised funds through the sale of daffodils, along with Dr. Jack Marlowe. Ron established and facilitated the Hamilton Prostate Cancer Support Group to connect cancer patients, survivors, and their families through common bonds. So on behalf of us all, Ron, congratulations, Governor General. There you go. Here. Show that to these fine folks here. They want to give you a memento photo.
Okay.
Please.
I'd like to thank the Canadian Cancer Society for making it possible to set up the Prostate Cancer Support Group, with whom I've been associated for a number of years. And it's very gratifying for me when one of our people approaches me and thanks me for saving their life by convincing them to come to our meetings so that they could meet the best of the urologists, oncologists, and other professionals who come to our meetings and who convince them that they should do something about the unusual medical condition they have, where they get the proper treatment and live. And they've thanked me for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Okay. And last but not at all least, William Campbell Thomas resides in Dundas as well, a hotbed for volunteerism. has been assisting veterans for over 20 years as an executive member and volunteer chaplain with many organizations. William's work with the Friends of the HMCS Haida has also helped educate Canadians about the history of the Navy and helping to keep its spirit and its legacy alive. So, congratulations, William Campbell Thomas. Feel free.
Thank you. I particularly want to start off by thanking my family who put up with my frequent trips all across the country, and particularly the folks sitting up above, members of the naval community who nominated me for this award. My grandparents and parents were immigrants to this country who benefited greatly from the communities in which they lived, and some of them served in defense of this country. One of them died in defense of it. So I have a very special place for veterans. I think they deserve every bit of support and attention we can give to them. They themselves are marvelous volunteers who bring many of their skills learned in the forces into the service of the community at large to build it up. So to them, thank you very much.
So like most volunteers, they always pass it on to others that have done great work, but this is really about these folks that have done fantastic work in our community. So thank you all for your great service, and much appreciated. Thank you. I'm also pleased to announce that Hamilton Burling Society of Architects recently recognized a special and innovative project in our city. The city bestowed the Architectural Award of Merit for the Waterdown Memorial Park Skating Loop, which, if you haven't been on it, I plan on being on it soon, and hopefully the ice will stay for a little while longer. But the skating loop is a multi-use loop that serves as a pleasure skating rink for all ages and skill levels. In the warm weather, it is an area for the community to enjoy activities such as inline skating. And the skating loop officially opened in July of 2016, and it's a wonderful asset to the Flamborough-Waterdown community. So on behalf of all of us here, the project started on behalf of the Waterdown Rotary Club. They provided $1 million to the city to build the skating loop, and city staff was integral to the design of this project, and they deserve recognition as well for their efforts and their achievements. So I'm going to call on Councillor Partridge and Graham McNally, who nominated the city for the award, to please come forward for the presentation. Graham is here, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you want to do that? Yeah. Hey, Graham.
So we have one for you and one for us?
One for the Rotary Club.
One for the Rotary Club. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's pass it here. There's the Rotary Club. And don't go away.
Thanks very much, everyone. And the reason there are two awards is one is for the Rotary Club of Waterdown to keep, and in recognition of the tremendous effort that they put into this project. And the other one, of course, is for the City of Hamilton to keep as well. And this is a project that, you know, the Waterdown Rotary Club, they first tapped me on the shoulder 5 years ago and said, we would like to build something in the community that would be for family and for children to enjoy. And they very, very generously had $1 million that they wanted to donate. And I want to give some recognition to Joseph Yu. Joseph Yu, for those of you who don't know, is an employee with the City of Hamilton who actually came up with the design to do a skating loop as opposed to doing a rectangular or a rink or something similar to what you would normally see. And so the ice loop went through a few iterations. And Graham McNally was certainly instrumental with his firm in finalizing the design, and all of the staff. I want to thank everyone, because staff, really, you were incredible. You worked so very hard on this. And Rom D'Angelo's team, Robin Ellis, Kevin Barry, and I'm not going to name them all, but you know, they're just absolutely wonderful, wonderful folks. I have Gary Flood here from the Waterdown Rotary Club, who was the president at the time. And I want to give lots of accolades to Gary, because he really, really pushed and worked well and was so cooperative, and just, you know, we just kept coming for every time we hit a barrier, we just kept it coming forward. So we actually, I had the pleasure of having my New Year's levee there on January 1st. And for the levee itself, it was a 2-hour period. We have over 400 people that came through. But for the Saturday and the Sunday, over 2,000 people were skating on that loop. And they're still skating on it tonight. Not the same 2,000 people, but they're still skating on it every night because of the coolant system that's underneath. It stays frozen. And it's been absolutely wonderful, wonderful addition. So I want to thank everyone in the City of Hamilton. I want to thank all the taxpayers, and I want to thank this council very much for supporting it. And I want to thank the Waterdown Rotary folks as well for just the tremendous, tremendous work that they do in our community. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm actually wearing two hats tonight. One of my colleagues from the Hamilton-Burlington Society of Architects fell ill today, so I'm here representing the Society, and I would just like to pass on our congratulations to the City. Investing in architecture and high-quality buildings is a great thing, I think, for the public, and this building is an example of the City building wonderful, wonderful amenities in our communities. And as my private citizen hat, non-HPSA, I just want to pass on a big thanks to the councillor for Waterdown, Judy Partridge, who, speaking of barriers, was instrumental in overcoming challenges that are inevitable in a project like this, and I want to give a big thank you to her for her work on this project. So, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Great team effort, as always. And look forward to being out there skating soon.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well done. So, back to the regular business. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, moved by Councillor Vanderbeek, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All in favor? Carried. Members of Council, you have communications items 5.1 through 5.14 before you. Did I forget to give them that? Okay. I'll let you grab that. 5.1 through 5.14. I'll go through them individually. On item 5.1, what is your wish? Motion to receive, moved by, I didn't hear that, Skelly, seconded by Partridge. All in favor? Carried. On item 5.2, indicates to receive. All in favor? 5.3? Carried. 5.4? 5.5? On 5.4?
Yes, please. This is 5.4 and 5.7 because they're both related. This is regarding the audit call for the NPCA. The first one, 5.4, is written by our Premier Kathleen Wynne, basically thanking us and acknowledging us for that motion. And 5.7 is actually the motion that was carried by the City of St. Catharines, asking for an audit as well for the NPCA. So I just wanted to pass this on that the NPCA did pass a motion to do a third-party audit. So congratulations to them, and thanks to Bill Hodgson for bringing that draft motion forward. My understanding is that there is an amendment that was put on there, and that was the request for the Attorney General to perform that audit. I have to say that even though I was trying to get into it in the budget presentations, I totally respect the fact that it wasn't probably as appropriate, but I'm still disappointed that the MPCA chose to sue a private individual for claims that were made in his report, and yet instead of asking staff just to do a fact sheet to either rebut it or to acknowledge them, whatever it is, they instead decide to go into a lawsuit that's, I believe it's an upset value of $100,000. So that I thought was a budgeting item, because if you're spending your money on suing private individuals who have concerns, then what does the rest of the operations look like? So through those talks that we had at the budget process, Councillor Jackson brought forward an idea that Bimbert could actually come under the Hamilton realm. We had a motion ready to go today, vetted it through Janice. It was very vague, just saying start the conversation. But with further conversations, we decided to pull it back a little bit. So we're going to see you at GIC with that motion coming forward. So thank you, Councillor Jackson, for all your leadership on that. But again, I have serious concerns about this organization. If things are all copacetic, set up a fact sheet, tell us what it is then. It just, answer the private citizens report, and away we go. But unfortunately, they took a different line. But anyways, those are my comments for this. That's 5.4 and 5.7, and I'll move them accordingly.
Okay, so on 5.4, all in favor? Carried. On 5.5? Carried. On 5.6? 5.7? Carried. 5.8? On 5.8. Councillor Conlon.
Thank you. I was very interested in this truck signage, because we do have truck signage in Stony Creek, but apparently, and it doesn't say this here, and I was kind of dumbfounded, that even though if you have signage, trucks can take the shortest route to where they want to go. So it kind of defeats truck signs. We have no trucks allowed, no heavy trucks allowed on a certain street. And then we get trucks allowed all the time on certain residential streets, and we can't do anything about it. So kind of what he's saying here, these signs are used by the province and the municipality jurisdiction to guide truck traffic to use a specific route or restrict truck traffic from routes within the community. But in effect, it does not happen. I would like to refer this over to traffic, if I could, to review it and maybe give us a report on what it really means, because I'd love to see if it is truly routes that we can control. I'd like to see it enforced, and I've been told several times that we can't, but right. This seems to contradict what I was told. Okay, so technically you'd want to refer it, I believe, to Public Works? Public Works, you're right. Thank you. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was just going to suggest that the report be presented to the truck route subcommittee, which does exist, if that's okay with the councillor, and I'll support it 100%.
Okay, so referral to the truck route subcommittee as opposed to which is under Public Works, isn't that? Is it not? As I recall, but yeah. Yes,
so I thought his motion was to refer it to staff to report. And I was going to suggest that staff then report to the subcommittee, or it can go straight to the subcommittee, whatever. Yeah, the subcommittee's fine.
The only thing I would say is subcommittee doesn't meet that often, in my understanding. I know I did go to a few of them. I'd rather go to Public Works and let them direct it where they feel is the best place to do it, if that's okay. Would you second that? Thank you.
Okay. Moved by yourself, then seconded by Councillor Pearson, that this be referred to Public Works for staff report on the issue of trucks traffic signs. All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none. On item 5.9, all in favor? On item 5.10? Thank you. And 5.11? 5.12? Thank you. 5.13? On 5.12.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Once again, folks, last month, if you recall, the president of the Winona Peach Festival came forward to present the last check of the loan that they received from the City of Hamilton to do upgrades in the very park that the community uses 9.5 months of the year. So they're asking again for another loan because they want to add more infrastructure into the park, which not only builds up the asset in that community, but also enables the Winona Peach Festival. So I'm hoping that when the staff do the report to come back, that we also agree to that interest-free loan again, because it does nothing more but build up our own assets. So they're asking for this asset to be left into the park, used by the public. So just to give you a heads up that when this report comes through, I hope to get your support on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on item 512, to refer to General Manager of Finance, all in favor? 513, all in favor? 514. Thank you. Councillor Partridge, a motion on the communications, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brenda Johnson that Council Communications 5.1 through to 5.14 be approved as presented and as follows.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Marula, a motion to move into Committee of the Whole to hear the committee reports, please.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Collins that Council move into Committee of the Whole for consideration of the committee reports.
Thank you. All in favor? Councillor Partridge, Deputy Mayor, you are in the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the Public Works Committee presents Report 17-001 and respectfully recommends Item 1, Item 2, and on Item 3, on Item 2 or 3?
Item 3.
Go ahead,
Thank
please.
To make a long story short, this is a good news update. We are making good progress on the trail that we're creating in Strathcona in Ward 1, partnering between City of Hamilton, the Catholic School Board, and the Catholic Diocese. The diocese and the school board own the relevant property. The city is providing assistance, and it looks like we're going to have a really great accessible ravine heading through the K-Drage ravine and connecting into K-Drage Park. So I'd like to give a special word of thanks to Bishop Crosby and to Chair Daly of the school board and to Mark Valvasori, Catholic School Board trustee for Wards 1 and 2, for working with me and the community to make this project happen. We're 2 years in, and it's really going well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson. All in favor? Carried. Item 4. Carried. Item 5. Carried. Councillor Vanderbeek, I understand you have a housekeeping amendment to Item 6, please.
I do, thank you. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Farr, that I think that what I'll do is just tell you what the difference is. The item is the same, it is housekeeping, and B of number 6, and item number 3, so III, the last line is going to change, changing the word nominal fee to at fair market value. Everything else remains the same. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Farr. I'd like to move that motion. Thank you.
All right, and all in favor? Carried. That is carried. Thank you. And all in favor as amended? Carried. Councillor Farr, please.
Just a big thank you to Public Works staff, to the residents. I've spent some time in this laneway. This is one of those infamous alleyway closure issues, and for many years you could get in or out from Robert Street and get in or out at the other end onto Wellington. Even before that, it was Barton Street before the Tim Hortons. We're talking about the corner of essentially Wellington and Barton. The owner, I should thank as well, and his team, who agreed to work with us on a solution. It's not the ultimate fix, which would mean keeping the alleyway completely open, of which the owner now owns all the property abutting, and so you know generally our rule there, but did agree to use some of his attained property where, in fact, looks like a 5-story medical facility is going to be built, kitty corner to private medical facility, kitty corner to general hospital. to create on his own property an opportunity for the residents to do a hammerhead maneuver and get out from whence they came on Robert Street. So it was a great compromise. It's for some, I know, not going to be the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution was don't touch anything. But in this case, to make the project work and to make most of the neighbors who are accessing the driveway by car, and we're talking roughly about 15 to 20 houses, we have a solution in the owner offering up some property here. So thank you to the Public Works Committee. Thanks to those who engaged on this issue. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about our laneways in the near future here in the heart of downtown.
All right, thank you, Councillor Farr. And Councillor Vanderbeek, may I please have a motion to approve the report as amended and receive the information section?
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Jackson, that the first report of the Public Works Committee be adopted as amended and the information section received.
Thank you. And Councillor Skelly, you wanted to speak to something in the information section, please?
Yes, I just have a question for staff regarding item I. 2, an update on repairs to the Claremont access. Is there anyone who
What
can speak to
page?
that?
Please.
Page 7 of 7.
Page 7 of 7, everyone. Item I.
Item I, section 2, I guess it is.
And your question?
Is there someone from staff who can update the Claremont access repairs?
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Through you, Madam Chair, the update's basically the same message as Public Works Committee. We're on track to be complete by the end of February and reopen the downbound lane at that point.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to remind staff that we've received yet another comment, an email from a driver who said this is the second time that they've been heading up the Claremont access and have actually had to avoid a downbound vehicle. This is twice now. So I know that staff had been very proactive in putting some sort of a reminder or barrier up to remind people that there is no access downbound, but it's happened at least twice in the past 2 weeks. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Skelly. So it is moved by Councillor Vanderbeek and seconded by Councillor Jackson to approve the report as amended and receive the information section. All in favor? Carried. That is carried. Thank you. Next, we move on to the Board of Health, presents report 17-001 and respectfully recommends. Item 1. Carried. Item 2. Carried. Mayor Eisenberger, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented?
You may. The move by myself, seconded by Councillor Vanderbeek, that the first report of the Board of Health be adopted as presented, the information section received.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. That is carried. Thank you. And moving on to the Planning Committee, presents report 17-001 and respectfully recommends. Item 1. Carried. Item 2. Carried. Item 3. Carried. Item 4. On item 4, please, Councillor Farr, Councillor Green.
Thank you. I think Councillor Johnson as well. Did you indicate?
Councillor.
I just want to thank you, Madam Chair, my committee members, and not just for healthy, lengthy debate last week at Planning Committee, but for what has been over 5 years of your attention to what has been a sticky issue, at times a tumultuous issue, for the most part an amicable series of years of consultation towards a compromise that's before us tonight, particularly as it relates to item B of the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee Report 16-010. I have so many people on staff to thank that I'll just respectfully ask Jason Thorne to meet me on the aside after tonight's meeting so I can go over the planners like Robichaud and Anita and even Tim McCabe before Jason, who sat in some of these many meetings over the course of the last 5 years as it relates to these 5 addresses at the Gore. Also under his staff, the urban renewal staff over the years, the legal staff over the years, the building department. Ed Vanderwent has been fine and picked up the ball from the CBO before that sat in the meetings over the years. And certainly around this table over the last 5 years, we've had a number of different debates. We've had moved unanimous resolutions as it relates to this property, but positively and directly affects anyone else as it relates to heritage grants, significantly changing for the better opportunities for people to restore older buildings. I've dialogued with, I think, everybody in the last couple of months that has been associated with the newly formed Friends of the Gore. I said it at Planning Committee. They are well organized, well spoken, and for the most part, during and afterwards, very fair and very polite in their approach to this issue, but certainly have made a significant impact with some of the facts and some of the concerns and some of the comments that they have made with respect to the way I perceive heritage. I appreciate that. I told them that. I want to say it again here tonight. And for all those folks who were following early on their social media campaign, who came, I think there was 27 or 30 in the audience last Tuesday night, many of them wearing green shirts and buttons that said Save the Gore. And many of them, I think 14 or 15, actually came to the podium one by one and spoke in a very organized, articulate, and polite fashion to the issue. Their issue clearly was save it all. In the last 2 months, that was their prevailing theme, their message. They went to meet with my neighborhood associations. They got, I think, 4 of them to sign up and send letters, which is great. I mean, I've been dialoguing for 5 years on this issue with them as well. We meet regularly, and I give them full kudos for what they've orchestrated in that capacity. However, and when I've responded to I think I've responded to everybody who's cared to include me either on a CC or deal with me directly and appeal to me directly that are on the other side of what's before us tonight. I did want to add today, and in a positive, hopefully light for those folks who may not agree with us here tonight, if indeed we can find some way forward tonight, as we asked for in the spring of 2016. So I'll just read from what I've now added to the correspondence that I shared with those folks who may not be in agreement with us. Since this current Gore issue first appeared on the front pages of the local paper, I can say it's the Spectator, more than 5 years ago, we, as a council, have moved to register nearly 1,000 buildings of historical interest in our downtown. Since this issue came to bear, we, as council, are nearly complete now with that same process of close to 800 properties in the Durand neighborhood. This all relates to heritage and movements towards the preservation of heritage and showing our support for heritage and building on our support for heritage. Since this issue became an issue more than 5 years ago. We have also, as a council, worked together, and you supported me in keeping 150 Main, the old federal building over there at Caroline and Main, from the wrecking ball. It's now part of a wonderful adaptive reuse, and it is part of a 5-phase development that is significantly adding to our tax base here in the downtown. We, as a council, moved not 1 but 2 emergency heritage intent to designate motions at council. Both of those emergency intent to designates were unanimously supported, and it's never happened before, to my understanding, in any previous council. So in the last 5 years, that's something as well that we have done. We have facilitated and continue to facilitate the Royal Connaught 5-phase development with terrific work from our staff, and I meet with Rudy, and we have cappuccinos the odd Saturday morning as well, make sure everything's going well. Another very significant 5-phase development at the other end of the downtown that I think is going to be very, very important to all of us, including those who appreciate heritage. We've moved several motions enhancing heritage grants and encouraging preservation. We sold and saved the sandbar. It may seem like a small thing, but we owned it for over 10 years, and it could have gone to the wrecking ball. It could have gone in a different direction. It's now becoming is soon becoming a micro brew and artist studios, and a really underappreciated so far, but we got to have a ribbon cutting on just the significant restoration that's occurred at the sandbar. And we all know the history of the infamous sandbar. The wonderful historical wall of our BIA, known as International Village, well preserved after that council moved to agree to sell, and we're reaping the benefits now. So the other and the final one that I talked to a lot of the folks wearing the green t-shirts about over the years is and I think is very significant, because unlike Lister, the Gore is a privately owned project. It is part of a massive assembled piece of land in the heart of our downtown, and it's the first of a three-phase development. They always want to talk about the comparison to Lister. Well, currently we still have, and doing the deal on Lister, to my understanding, I wasn't around at the time, we had a lot of skin in the game as a municipality. We have all of our staff there. That was part of the deal, and I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million. And eventually we own that building. And so we really, a former council, not in my time, really did our part there. And there's two remaining city-owned properties that have been for 25 years or more a bit of a thorn in our side as a municipality that we gained control of over time. One is Akhmar and the other is St. Mark's. And this term of council, we solved one of those. In the next 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, that will be a completely restored, heritage-designated facility at the corner of Hunter and Bay, and one that will be, I know, full to the rafters with community use 7 days a week, thanks to motions moved and heritage efforts approved and initiated around this table. So while I might have gone a little long and I'm a little off topic, I think it's very important, especially tonight, if I am finally moving forward on what has been a long-standing issue as a two-term elected official here in Ward 2. I think it's important as well, though, tonight to remind everyone of our steadfast resolve as it relates to making certain wherever and whenever possible, it's not going to be always, but wherever and whenever possible, we're going to do what we can to make heritage an important issue to all of us and understand and appreciate and enhance the issue of heritage for the better wherever and whenever possible. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the sidebar conversations over the years, Madam Chair and Maria and others around this table. And I would love to move this item tonight and then the next one. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor, and I'll come back to you. I have Councillor Green, Councillor Johnson, the Mayor, and Councillor Pearson. Councillor Green, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. I won't repeat anything that I said on this particular item at the Planning Committee, but I will say this, that for those that are really keen about heritage, they will know that in Toronto, an article recently ran around the stealth demolitions that are happening there. Proactive move by, I would say, unscrupulous developers to tear down properties in Toronto before they can be properly acted on. And, you know, I say that in reflecting on the fact that what has become known as the Christmas miracle, unprecedented, Councillor Farr coming in to save what was savable, I guess, as highly debatable, but to basically give us the next best option. And I say that, I won't be supporting this, I'll be opposing this particular one, but I say that with a caveat to say that having the long conversations that I've had with the councillor, I have one of those green shirts. I know the folks that were advocating and organizing. They did a fantastic job. But this was a really complex file. It was definitely not a clear-cut case. There was, you know, long conversations around the layouts and the applicability of the way that those were designed in the time period that they were designed pre-Confederation. I recognize that we're in the 150. But I have to say that from a very pragmatic place, if it wasn't for Councillor Farr, those buildings would have been gone. And we would have had little to no control over what the end result is going to be. And so in speaking with some of the residents and some of my own residents who very passionately advocated, and which is why I'm, you know, one of the reasons why I'm here opposing this today, representing my residents in my ward, I had to tell them the following, that, you know, the best case scenario is that they had stayed and remained in pristine condition, that they were completely occupied over the last couple of decades, particularly when we had some inner city decline, that they stayed in the pristine condition. That wasn't the case. The current property owners, as you know, over the last little while, for whatever reason, they've, you know, continued to decay. But Councillor Farr and his leadership on this particular one came up with, you know, what some might consider the next best, and even for those that wouldn't give them that to say it's the next best scenario, it's definitely the next best to the next best scenario. Because the worst case scenario could have been what happened in Toronto and what continues to happen, which is these stealth demolitions where you wake up one morning and everything's rubble. So I just wanted to say that because I know he came under a lot of fire. He could have done the popular thing maybe pretended to support something that he didn't really support, which certainly wouldn't speak to any type of integrity. But he stood firm. I oppose him on this, but I respect the fact that he took a very complex file and it's coming to its fruition. And if I could just end on this final thought, Madam Deputy Mayor, is that for the heritage folks that are out there, I encourage them. I encourage them on that day and continue to encourage them to stay engaged, to go to the next project, to figure out what is the stock, where do we got to go next. I know the Heritage Committee is doing this work, and to make sure that we're kind of not in the 12th hour, but we're in there and we're doing what we have to do to make sure that we don't have to be in these emergency type crises again. So hopefully we can close the loop on that. And I just wanted to take a moment and give Councillor Farr his credit for unpacking a very complex and controversial, contentious item. Those are my comments, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Aidan Johnson, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I agree with everything that Councillor Green just said. I'm going to make basically the same argument, but I'm going to flip the order to change the emphasis. So basically, and very correctly, articulately, Councillor Green argued we shouldn't demolish these buildings, but Councillor Farr deserves kudos. And I'm just going to flip that and say, Councillor Farr deserves kudos, but we shouldn't demolish these buildings. So on the first point, everything Matthew said is right. I've been so impressed by the painstaking and stressful work that Councillor Farr has done, reaching out to all constituents on this one to do what's right for the economy and what's right for heritage. So thank you, Councillor Farr, for due diligence. Now the but. These buildings are, to many of us, beautiful. Much more importantly, these buildings are old, and these buildings are legally designated heritage. All of that has to matter. The argument has been made that the 150th birthday year of Canada is the wrong year for the demolition, and there's a lot of power and goodness in that argument. I would only note that Hamilton is much older than 150 years, and every bit of our more than 150-year history, you can date it back to Aboriginal times if you desire, should be preserved, and that includes the Gore. So without belaboring the point any further, I will be voting against demolition. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson. Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone that's engaged in this issue, both for and against. These are always difficult ones, and I would say on a kind of a blanket statement that I believe everyone on this council and our staff care and concern themselves with heritage. If we did not, Ockmar wouldn't be standing anymore, nor would St. Mark's, nor would we have a Lister block that has gone such a long way and over such a long period of time come to be one of the iconic buildings that is leading the transformation actually on James North. So I would say in a blanket statement, we all care about heritage. Now, do we all want it to be perfect? In a perfect world, that would be great. But I have to tell you, and I don't say this for credit because I just want to acknowledge that the councillor has done an enormous amount of work for a long period of time in very difficult circumstances on a complex file, and more to come yet in terms of other development. I have to admit that I encouraged him to, and the developer and the city staff to come together to come up with a workable compromise in the absence of nothing happening at all. So the stalemate wasn't producing anything that was going to be of a lasting and enduring benefit to the city of Hamilton. Something, in my view, had to give so that we can actually get something positive happening there that is a workable compromise. And I think that's the end of the day. Politics is about compromise. And if in a perfect world, we'd want to save all of our buildings, but that isn't always possible. And I think in this particular instance, we're going to have an opportunity to have two facades preserved and I'm going to say, and I know the architects don't like this, a reasonable facsimile which defers to the other two facades, which in every image that I've seen, and more can be done, I think, at the site plan level, that will make that streetscape look almost as authentic as it had in the past. Notwithstanding the fact that a brand new building is going to be happening in behind. And I look at some of the iconic places where they preserve heritage in a very, very big way. Rome and Amsterdam, some of the big cities in the world. You walk through a ancient old gateway into a brand new building. No existing structure behind that. The facade is what used to be there, and everything else behind that is brand spanking new. Often it's a mall. In this particular instance, we're dealing with something that has the same scope and scale of what used to be there or what is there now. And I think that it leads to not only this development being very positive improvement to what's there now, but also future developments that we can do, hopefully through a positive relationship with this developer that has done, in fact, a lot of good work, actually got a lot of good heritage work in our community. So I understand the passion of the heritage organizers and folks. I really appreciate that. I think we would all have the same view, but as council, we're left with having to work with developers that own property that want to do something with them. In this case, I think in the long run, a positive development that I think will lead to a streetscape that we can be more proud of when it's done than the way it looks today. And so, when the Pan Am was on, I asked this developer to make that property look better than it did. It was just a bunch of plywood, and they graciously came forward and did some painting and put some images on there that made it look a bit more presentable. I think that was laudable, and I would hope that when they get to the point of redeveloping this site, they can think of and do what many European cities do, because it's our downtown, to put a shroud in front of that has a representation of buildings while the development and construction is happening. That is a very common practice in Europe, and I think it's a smart and doable practice in Hamilton and in Canada that I hope, because this is downtown and because it's so important, because it's the iconic place in our city, that kind of a shroud will help make the city, that part of the city look presentable while the construction is going on. That is going to be necessary whether we like it or not, one way or the other. So I'm going to be supporting Councillor Farr. I think he's done an enormous amount of heavy lifting here, and obviously with competing interests, and that's often the case. But at the end of the day, we have to make a decision, I think, in the long-term interest of our community and in our downtown. And I think this reasonable, workable compromise, I think, is a step forward. So compliments to all that have participated, and we would never dismiss the passion of our folks in the community that have passion for heritage. I think that needs to continue. There are many areas that have still lots of heritage properties on them, and the list is growing, and I think that's a positive thing. And we will continue to partner with anyone that wants to continue to preserve that heritage going into the future. But in this particular instance, I think we've come up with something that I think people at the end of the day will appreciate as a reasonable step forward that allows us to get to a development that then would allow us to get to an additional development down the road that I think is going to be of great benefit, not only for our downtown, but for our entire city. So my full compliments to Councillor Farr for all the great work, our great staff, all of those for and against, and I will be supporting this recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Pearson, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and certainly great comments all around the table, both for and against. But I will be supporting this, and in the next application, I too want to compliment Councillor Farr. I think he's done a tremendous job, as I mentioned at the meeting. If we could tell the color of his hair, it's probably a lot grayer than it was 5 years from now. He's done a tremendous amount of work, and I certainly, I don't know that any one of us would do as well as he has in the downtown core of preserving as much as he has and making sure that what's going on is complementary. So there's been a lot here. Certainly, kudos to the Friends of the Gorge, all the citizens that have passion and heritage. You and I, Madam Deputy Mayor, sit on the Heritage Committee along with Councillor Aidan Johnson, and we all know that the committee is very passionate in working with heritage issues. There's over 1,000 properties in the downtown, almost 1,000 properties, that are being looked at to be in a designation. There's over 7,500 properties on the list citywide. So we do have a passion, we do have an interest in this community of preserving heritage. But unfortunately, you can't save all of them. And we have a very, very responsible business owner that's trying to do something. We could have lost all these properties and they were caught. And, you know, it was great that, you know, the Christmas miracle, as it was called, came forward, and that was due to Councillor Farr, of at least being able to take a step back and have a sober second thought by everybody to see the importance of this and do the best they can. So it is a compromise. But I've always said, you'd rather have a compromise than lose everything. And I'm proud to sit here and move this forward. And just for council and the public's information, Councillor Farr got out of one frying pan, but he's going to be into another one right away. So he does it well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. So, Councillor Farr, you'd like to move item number 4?
Yes, and I alluded to specific to 4B is where we tweaked what the Heritage Committee voted against by a vote of 5-4, as you know.
Yes.
So we're asking for the redevelopment of 2428. That's the demolition. And C, in what's before us today, the Heritage Committee, our Planning Committee, of course, and hopefully here tonight, fully agreed on the 18, 20, and 22, the 3 addresses of preserved and designated facades. So of the 5 addresses, 3 preserved designated facades, and then tonight where this is item 4, Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee report, Planning Committee did not agree in a vote of 6-3 on B. So everything else is fine, and I would love to move item 4 here tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. And your seconder, please. Seconded by Mr. Mayor. All in favor?
Sorry.
That is carried. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And those opposed?
And sorry, Madam Deputy Mayor, if I may, a procedural question. Can we not vote? I want to be recorded as opposed to B.
Yes, absolutely. So how about if I go through them individually?
Is that the best? Whatever's best.
Because we've got A, B, and C, right? So you're opposed to C?
I'm opposed to B.
Okay. And anyone else opposed? Councillor Green, Councillor Brenda Johnson, Councillor Aidan Johnson, and it's all for the same one? Okay. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, that carries. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 5. Carried. Thank you. Item 6. Carried. Item 7. Carried. Item 8. Carried. Item 9. Carried. Item 10. Carried. Item 11. Carried. Item 12. Hang on, just let me catch up here. And Councillor Green, I understand you have an amendment to item 13?
That's correct. It is the replacement of the therefore be it resolved, just a housekeeping item regarding the partnership. So we're actually going to be entering in with the Hamilton Community Land Trust, who will administer the project in partnership with Habitat for Humanity. So it's not a multi-party agreement. It's just between us and the Community Land Trust, and then they will take care of their partnerships accordingly.
All right, and thank you for that. So all in favor as amended?
Carried.
That is carried. And Councillor Pearson, I understand you have an amendment to item 14, please.
Yes, I do, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you, and I'll read it off. It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Brenda Johnson. It's settlement of the OMB appeal, OMB case number PL 140601 by 549367 Ontario Limited regarding the Fruitland Winona secondary plan and purchase of lands for community park, PED 17014 LS 17004, Ward 11, item 12.2. That the recommendation of item 14 of Planning Committee Report 17001 be deleted in its entirety and replaced with the following therein. A, that an option to purchase executed by 549367 Ontario Limited on November 29, 2016. I'm not going to read it all because there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's the offer to purchase be approved and completed, and the city solicitor be authorized to accept the option to purchase. B, that the funding for the property acquisition consisting of the market value of the land, all real estate and legal services, administration fees and land transfer tax, environmental site assessments, property maintenance, etc., and other costs as outlined in Appendix C attached to report PED 17014 be approved. C, that the city solicitor be authorized and directed to complete the transaction on behalf of the city, including paying any necessary expenses, amending the closing due diligence and other dates, amending and waiving terms and conditions on such terms as she considers reasonable. And D, I don't know that I need to read them all out. D, that the City of Hamilton enter into the settlement of the appeal. And E, that the city solicitor, her designate, is hereby authorized to execute the minutes of settlement. F, that the city solicitor be authorized and directed to execute all necessary documents. And G, that the report PED 17014/LS17004 remain confidential, except that once executed by all parties, the minutes of settlement attached to the report as Appendix D may be released to the public. That's condensed.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Pearson. So that's moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Johnson. All in favor? That is carried. And on the motion, on the item as amended? That is carried. Thank you. Councillor Pearson, may I have a motion to approve the report as amended and receive the information section, please?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Aidan Johnson, that the first report of the Planning Committee be adopted as amended in the information section received.
Okay, and all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. The General Issues Committee presents report 17-001 and respectfully recommends item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. Councillor Skelly, please, on item 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm just wondering if staff, we do have members of the Hamilton-Brantford Building and Construction Trades Council here this evening, and I'm wondering if staff can just speak to when they expect that the meeting with these representatives and other stakeholders might possibly take place.
Mike, would you please address that?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, we'll target the first quarter of this year, 2017, and again, we'll provide an update through Audit, Finance, and Amendment Committee.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 4. Item 5. Councillor Jackson, please.
Well, Madam Deputy Mayor, this can't go by. Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. I just want to say if we approve this resolution here tonight, we will be in sync with the new President of the United States. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And who's tinkling? Councillor Aidan Johnson and Councillor Green, please.
On assertion, to answer an assertion, no, we won't be.
Councillor Green.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank that all the members of the public that came in, Kirk, the building trades, the Hamilton District Labour Council. The question came up about whether or not this was municipal in its scope, and absolutely, we have the ability here that any bylaws or legislations, anything that we wanted to do to protect our water, our land, under this agreement would have opened us up and still may open us up to litigation. And so, yes, it is true that America has withdrawn from the TPP. And yes, it is true that we are currently under a neoliberal government who may still proceed with this. I appreciate the fact that we have sent this letter in to protect the interests of our local economy and the trades and all the decision-making sovereignty that we have here as a municipality. Thank you.
Oh, my microphone went off. Okay, thank you. And item 6? Item 7. Councillor Pearson, I understand you have an amendment to item number 8, please.
I'm going to try and condense again, Madam Chair. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Doug Conley. Item 8 of General Issues Committee report. Licensing Uber or like ride sharing applications, PED 16099A citywide. So this is the amendments that I made to the original motion that was a recommendation that was at committee. I don't think I need to go into it, but I will read off the 2 amendments.
Okay, please.
They were item under A is 64 brackets 1 bracket N as in Norman. It is optional for an emergency lighting warning system to be mounted on the exterior of the vehicle. This is to do with taxi cabs. And the second amendment is paragraph B, 18, subsection 64.1 bracket N as in Norman. It is optional for an emergency lighting warning system to be mounted on the exterior vehicle. Sorry, that's the same. Believe. So those were the amendments, and I'm just trying to see. Okay. Sorry, Madam Chair. I'm trying to condense this because it's huge. Okay, under 18, yeah, it's there, and I think there was one other, maybe through you to staff, if they could just clarify, because I don't see the light. There was a light, and there was one other item. Through you to Mr. Thorne, please.
Okay, Jason.
So through the chair, yes, the other amendment that was discussed at committee related to delaying for a year the effective date at which time a police vehicle could be used as a taxi cab. So that amendment is captured within the amended bylaw in the report. So it was just this, the lighting one, the emergency lighting one that had to be moved as a separate motion.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. And so I do have speakers on the item itself, but on the amendment, moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Conley. All in favor? On the amendment. Oh, yours is on the amendment? I'm sorry, Councillor Jackson?
So, Madam Deputy Mayor, I just want to be crystal clear, just in light of how contentious this whole matter has been for 2 or 3 years before us, Uber versus the taxi industry, and some like-mindedness as we're moving forward. So the amendments through you to possibly either Jason or Councillor Pearson, those were the 2 that were on the fly at GIC last week, that all parties in the lobby came together and said, yep, with these 2 amendments, we think we can at least get this off the ground and hopefully start the ball rolling on this bylaw. Can I just have that confirmed by either Jason or Councillor Pearson? Madam Deputy Mayor, please.
Absolutely, Jason.
Through the chair, that's correct. Those are the 2 amendments.
Okay, thank you. And so on the amendment, all in favor? Thank you. And on the item, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and Councillor Pearson and Councillor Jackson.
Just want to compliment our good staff, Kenley, Nurse, and Monica. I forgot your last name. I apologize, but the Sorrell, thank you, and their great work and the work of the industry, the industry representatives that they continue to dialogue with to get us to what I thought was a workable beginning of a solution that acknowledges the changes and the disruptiveness of not only the Uber operations and any others that come to the table, and there are others out there that may very well gravitate to all of our communities, but the industry itself that has also stepped up and said we are open for some changes that I think may improve the industry as a whole. So I'm delighted that we were able to do this without too much controversy and fanfare, in fact, and that is a testament to the good work of our staff and the industry coming together in goodwill to come up with, again, a reasonable compromise that has something for everyone built into it. So I know the community at large, when I travel around the community and people talk to me about Uber, they talk about it in a positive way. I know the industry doesn't, and I fully understand that. It has been disruptive, and it has changed the dynamic in terms of the taxi industry, not only here but throughout the world. But I think we were faced with dealing with a reality that they were going to be here one way or the other. It really is a technology and a process that is not only sweeping our country and our community, but every country throughout the world in terms of their reach and their ability to reach people. So I'm delighted we were able to come up with a compromise, and I just want to compliment everyone that came to the table to make that happen. Whether it was the last minute or not the last minute doesn't matter. I think people of goodwill come together and try and do something positive. I think there's a positive aspect of this for everyone. Some relaxation in the current taxi industry regulations, which I'll say this now, I've always viewed to be overbearing as a municipality, but notwithstanding the fact, I think regulations, from time to time are appropriate. But I hope that this will kind of lead the way to a fair and reasonable competition in the taxi industry that will help our citizens move around our community safely and quickly and efficiently. So I think that's really the bottom line out of all of this. So I want to thank all involved for a great effort to come to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and certainly I agree with the previous comments of Mr. Mayor. It has been a long process, but as I mentioned at committee, I think that we took the time to do it right, and appreciate, as was commented by Councillor Jackson previously, that these 2 changes were the only 2 changes that came forward at the end, where we could have had the industry here, the taxi industry here, up in arms again, very concerned with this bylaw going forward. They weren't. They've accepted it. They're prepared to work with it and see how things go. And I think we should be very proud of that. I have a large number of drivers in the industry in my ward, and I certainly have heard a lot. But since we approved this at GIC, I have received no concerns crossing my desk or people coming to my door. So I'm really pleased about that. And I am confident that we're providing a service, a responsible service that will serve both sides of interested parties in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Councillor Jackson, please.
And echoing Madam Deputy Mayor, I support this. I never thought this would come to an amicable fruition. I want to thank, by the way, Councillor Sam Marula, who, if you will, when this gallery in this chamber was pretty full with some very, very angry taxi drivers with the initial bombardment and presence of Uber just riding into our city, Councillor Sam Marula suggested that there was opportunities or ways of how are we going to make this accommodation so that we respect the long-standing taxi industry and the investment that so many of those drivers have made, the living they have with their license plate at the end of it all in their retirement income, along with also respecting the long-standing brokers and owners of the cabs, the Hamilton cabs primarily, and the Blue Lines in our community, while realizing the modernization of another alternate transportation mode, being ride-sharing, being Uber. So I want to thank Councillor Marula. At least the conversation has evolved over the last 2 to 3 years. And when you've got industry players like advocates like Stephen Jones and Anthony Rizzuto and Mr. Ron Van Cleef, Jacktar Singh, coming together as they did last week and saying, let's give this a chance. And of course, Director Ken Leaders and Project Manager Monica Sorello. So I think the key in all this, Madam Deputy Mayor, is item C in item 8. With C saying that the licensing section for the Uber and the ride-sharing applications monitor the operations of the personal transportation provider, and over the next year to determine if any adjustments are going to be required, reporting back to the General Issues Committee a year from now. We'll know upsides and downsides, and if necessary, have to make adjustments there. Let's give this an opportunity and a start. Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And Mr. Mayor, if you could take the chair just for a moment. I echo everyone's comments around the table, and I appreciate the taxi industry and Uber, quite frankly, for coming together and for stepping up and addressing the issues. You know, Uber wasn't going to go away, and I think this council, I'm very proud to be on this council. The way that we've approached this, we could have gone the route of some of the other municipalities, but we didn't. We worked through this and brought everyone together, and I very much appreciate it. And you know, for my residents in Flamborough, and something that people don't recognize or realize is that we don't have taxi service out in Waterdown, and my ward goes all the way up to the boundary with Guelph and Burlington and Milton. And it's a very, very big area, but we now have Uber drivers that are in Waterdown, that are in Carlisle, that are able to get my residents around at a reasonable cost. You know, if our young people are out late at night, they would always try and take a cab home. Sometimes they'd have to wait a long time because, you know, they're dealing with Burlington cabs and Hamilton cabs. So, and I think that's just another perspective that's, again, it's a very safe ride-sharing program, and I'm just delighted that we were able to come together on this and to make it work on behalf of all of our residents, on behalf of the taxi industry, absolutely, and for Uber as well. Thank you, and I'll take back the chair.
Thank you. Back to you.
So all in favor on item 8 as amended? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Item 9. Councillor Green.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. And we had a long discussion. I won't rehash those comments again, but I do want on the record just to make sure, you know, the comments about neoliberalism, P3s, private partnerships. If I could, through you, could you just please express what the cost is going to be on this project, annual operating pressure that this is going to create, this agreement?
Thank you, Dan.
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, the OMR payments, which is the payments for operating, maintenance, and rehabilitation, starting in 2021 will be $2.5 million. There will also be an additional capital repayment starting in 2020, but in 2021 the annual cost will be 2.5. The annual utility cost will be about 1.2, so in total about $6.2 million, and then escalating from there.
And if I remember correctly, there was an additional, like it was like $500,000 on top of what we're doing right now. Like, compared to what we have right now, the differential was about $500,000. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So just to make the distinction, the comparison that I was drawing in the presentation that I made was with respect to the operation that we have right now with the capital project that we had on the books at the time that we started the master plan. That was the comparison I was drawing.
Sure.
So the program that we have now will be more money than the proposal in front of you is more money on an annual basis than what we're currently doing, because what we're currently doing does not have any costs associated with any kind of a capital project.
That's correct. And just for the record, that number, just so that I'm verified, I'm not talking tales out of school, was about $500,000 a year extra.
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I don't have the exact number, but that's the order of magnitude. Yeah.
Do we remember what that was going to look like on the ratepayer? Because I know a lot of people around this table, when we talked about water rates, were very sensitive about raising water rates for our seniors and other people. We talked about hydro and else. What does that relate to, the $500,000 operating pressure?
So the impact on the taxpayer, Dan?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, so the $500,000 on the rate budget, I think is what you're asking, as expressed as a percentage?
Yeah, what would the increase be?
It's about 1/4 to 1/3 of a percent.
So just so that we're clear, we're taking an option which is going to carry $500,000 a year more and is going to result in additional pressures to the ratepayers. I know we had some folks speaking about that. And Madam Deputy Mayor, I just want to say that I received the notice from Dan, and I appreciate the chart. I would still friendly pushback on that to say that I don't feel, in my time as a councillor, going back to 2005 when this started, I don't feel my community had an opportunity for input. I don't feel they were probably notified about this technology. Why, Madam Deputy Mayor? Because we didn't have a final say. So that presentation, 55 slides plus, was the first time any of us was seeing that information, just for the record. And at no point did I feel that my community was adequately consulted. Having said that, I want to thank members around this table, in particular Councillors Marula and Collins, for all their, and all of you, for all of your successful opposition to additional, I'm going to say, K-zoned, high industrial uses that would have added to the benzenes, the traffic, the air quality, and all those things. You think of Swaroo, you think of some of the others, the garbage plant, the incinerator, all of them. I just want to thank you for that. But on this one, I respectfully disagree. And I wish we had some more time just to talk about it a little bit instead of rushing down this route and now putting an additional burden on the taxpayer and ratepayer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Marula, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. And I want to thank Councillor Green for mentioning a lot of the successes that this council has experienced over the years. I know I want to commend Councillor Collins for his involvement over the years. Back in 2002, we decommissioned Swaroo, which was one of the worst incinerators in North America, and something that I think people have forgotten, to say the least, but something I will continue to remind people. Also, there were at one time, everybody and their brother wanted to build an incinerator in this town. We had Liberty Energy, we had a city proposal, we had the Harbor Commission, and we fought them head on as well, and we also succeeded in preventing that potential travesty. The gasification plant as well, when I know that Councillor Morelli was ill, they tried to backdoor the public meeting about 20 kilometers away from Ward 3, and they were playing games and trying to backdoor that, with aided and abetted by the Port Authority at that time as well. And as a result of community involvement in this council, we were able to prevent that disgrace. Having said that, we're now faced with this particular technology, and I must say that we've come a long way, and out of all of the proposals that we've seen, this is probably the least offensive. Having said that, when we're dealing with an area that's already challenged from an airshed perspective, that's really the crux of the issue at this point. So if it's already challenged, regardless of how minimal the particulate matter or any of the emissions are, it's still in an area that already can't handle it because it's beyond capacity. So had this been built or proposed to be built somewhere else where those same airshed issues weren't prevalent, most likely I would support it. But that's not the case, and that's why it is something that I can't support. and nor does my community support, and as a direct result, I will be voting against it. But I do want to acknowledge that staff, regardless of what my position is on this particular item, have worked diligently to try to secure the funding as well as the partnership. And for that, I do applaud their efforts. I just wish it was built somewhere else. And I thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Marula. Councillor Jackson, please.
Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. I just need to follow up on a previous member of Council's critique of the overall budget pressure. So, Madam Deputy Mayor, through to General Manager McKinnon, Dan, can you further elaborate, please, if you could, because I think you were trying to say this isn't really comparing apples to apples, and I want you to maybe talk about an affordability issue, as well as if this was already at least accommodated within the budget of the 4.85% that the overwhelming majority of my colleagues supported as a water rate increase. Madam Deputy Mayor, through you, please.
Dan?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, when the decision was made to go through the P3 Canada process and we were screened in, Council directed staff to deliver the project, but not at any cost. So we were requested to develop an affordability threshold, which we did. So that report was brought to Council, and Council approved the logic around that. And as a reminder, that was the $111 million. And so that was really the benchmark that we were working towards. And as you may remember, when we closed the project, we came in below that affordability threshold. And so that's because of that, the water rate budget that's been approved is all of this has been accounted for in it.
Councillor?
Thank you so much, Dan. So it could have very well been that some of the overwhelming majority of my colleagues that approved the 4.85% may have not realized that this was already accommodated within that double the rate of inflation increase, which I did not support. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Brenda Johnson, please.
Yep, thank you. And I'm going to remain consistent. Since 2011, I've been voting opposed. In my former life, I had the Liberty Energy file. Know a lot more on it than I wish I did. But I also believe there was another pelletization plant, and Councillor Marilla can correct me. It was American Water. And MOE slammed it down because of the technology, because it just did not meet the standards. But it costs, as Councillor Collins mentioned in GIC, the airshed, the compromised airshed in this area is it's fragile, as Councillor Marula said, and Councillor Green absolutely correct about public consultation. So I'm going to remain consistent and vote opposed.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Green for a second time, please.
Thank you. I've just I have some confusion because this wasn't approved when we approved the water rate. So through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, what would the savings have resulted in for the ratepayers? Because I'm not clear how you could oppose the increase and support this project at the same time. So I'm just trying to get a sense for what would that savings have resulted in? You're saying it's about 0.25%?
Dan?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I just want to make sure I understand the question clearly.
I'll restate it just in a simpler way. This project, this $100 million project, was accommodated. It was amortized over the course of your projected budget for this year and for future years, given the parameters of the motion. So if we decided to vote down this project, what would the resulting savings be to the ratepayers? Because you would then show a positive variance, a surplus in your projected budgets.
Dan?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I'd have to do the math in my head, or you wouldn't realize that until because the current budget starts when the equipment comes online in 2021. It would take me a minute to just...
That's okay. I think that the question has been posed. It's out there. I just don't want any confusion around the idea that we voted on something we didn't know about because we hadn't made the decision. We're making the decision right now. It's being ratified. I supported it because of the pressures that we have around water, just like I supported conversations around stormwater runoff and other pressures that we're having here on water. These are infrastructure pressures. However, what strikes me with this, the P3, the neoliberal model of privatizing public goods, is that if it's profitable for a corporation, there's a likelihood that it's profitable for a municipality. So I'm unclear that we've explored all the opportunities that this could have potentially been a municipal project, which would have realized the profits that this corporation is now going to realize on our behalf. So those are my statements. That's why I'm opposing, and I hope that we've cleared up any confusion around the support that we did with the last water rate budget. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor. And so I will go to the item now, and I will ask for all those in favor, and I will ask for all those opposed. So on item 9, all in favor? Carried. All those opposed? Councillor Green, Councillor Marula, Councillor Collins, and Councillor Brenda Johnson. Thank you, everyone. Item 10. Item 11. Item 12. Item 13. Hang on. Item 14. Item 15. Item 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. Mayor Eisenberger, may I please have a motion to approve the report as amended and receive the information section?
You may. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Vanderbeek, that the first report of the General Issues Committee be adopted as amended and the information section received.
Thank you. All in favor?
Carried.
Carried. The Audit, Finance and Administration Committee presents Report 17-001 and respectfully recommends item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Councillor Skelly, may I have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section?
Yes, you may. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Tom Jackson, that the first report of the Audit, Finance and Administration Committee be adopted as presented and the information section received.
All in favor? Thank you. The Emergency and Community Services Committee presents Report 17-001 and respectfully recommends item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Councillor Aidan Johnson, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section?
Thank you. And this is seconded by Councillor Marula, that the first report of the Emergency and Community Services Committee be adopted as presented and the information section received.
Thank you. All in favor?
Carried.
That is carried. Over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Sam. Mr. Vice Chair.
Councillor Marula, may I have a motion to have the Committee of the Whole rise and report?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Collins that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
Thank you. All in favor?
Carried.
Carried. We are on motions. Councillor Green, do you wish to present your motion respecting the new urban agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's quite a lengthy package, and I would actually prefer to have additional information provided so people know exactly what it is. So I'll be tabling this motion until a future GIC.
Okay, thank you. So we'll turn to item 7.2, transgender program. Councillor Johnson, wish to present your motion regarding the Social Planning and Research Council Taste Buds program.
You good for seconding? Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is seconded by Councillor Farr that $65,000 be provided to Social Planning and Research Council for the 2017 Taste Buds program to be funded from the 2016 Ward 1 area rating budget. And if I may speak to it.
Thank you, and I misspoke. It's not the transgender issue, it's the Taste Buds issue. I should have had my glasses on. I apologize.
Yes.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much. This
started with a T. I was close. Yeah.
Thank you. This was one of the top vote getters in our 2016 Ward 1 participatory budgeting program. We had to figure out if there could be physical infrastructure-ish stuff purchased. And the answer is yes. And my understanding, actually, I'm not going to say, my understanding is that it's it's equipment for storage of food. And that is going to be the good thing purchased with this money. And I'd like to thank all those who've voted for this project and who engage in Ward 1 participatory budgeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I have a mover and a seconder, Councillor Farr. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. Councillor Brenda Johnson, motion respecting the GIC report.
Yep, thank you. And you'll see the date on this is from November 23rd. It's moved by myself and seconded by Arlene Vanderbeek, so it feels like Groundhog Day. It's before us again, and it's a housekeeping amendment that the report was not received at the time. It's to be received again finally tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
you have it before you. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. Councillor Marula, you have a motion regarding the Geraldine Copse Parquet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Collins. Whereas Geraldine Copse served the City of Hamilton as the Alderman for Ward 4, as well as Regional Councillor between 1985 and 2000. Whereas Geraldine Copse worked tirelessly on behalf of her constituents and all Hamiltonians. Whereas Geraldine Copse was an advocate for persons with disabilities, a supporter of environmental causes, and a compassionate and caring individual. Whereas Geraldine Copse lived most of her life within a 1 kilometer circumference of Kenilworth Avenue and used the pipeline trail to walk to school as a child. Whereas the Copse family has publicly expressed their support for renaming the pipeline trail Parquet in her honor. Therefore, be it resolved that the pipeline trail Parquet be renamed to the Geraldine Copse Parquet. B, that any costs associated with renaming the Parquet be funded at and upwards of cost of $3,500 from miscellaneous corporate services, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the facility naming subcommittee for their endorsement. And if I could just briefly tell you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have to tell you, you worked with Mrs. Copse and the Copse family for a number of years, as well as Councillor Collins and Jackson. Frankly, I wouldn't be here today if it were not for Mrs. Copse. She did endorsed me and stepped aside and retired at that time to allow me to run and supported me accordingly. So I have to thank her publicly, as I have in the past, but and the family for that matter. Having said that, her involvement in the community, as I mentioned in the motion itself, she was really focused on the most vulnerable in our community, whether it be related to the environment or related to accessibility issues. She was a champion along those lines, and we've made significant strides as a direct result of her contributions accordingly. I know Parkdale Avenue North to this day was a pilot project for the visually impaired, and you'll notice if you travel to Parkdale, there you have the first sidewalks that were braille sidewalks to allow for the better directional opportunity for people that are visually impaired. Having said that, I'm very proud to present this motion and honor as a token of our appreciation, the opportunity to name what was an area that she cherished, was baptized just down the street at Holy Family. And the Parquet is a new development, and one that comes from the master plan that this council supported, and the Parquet that was born from the master plan, as well as the community and the neighborhood at Crown Point. So I want to commend them for their efforts, and I think it's a true tribute to Mrs. Copse and her contribution to the city over the years. And we will be focused, after losing the Victor K. Copse name on Copse Coliseum, we are still focused as a naming committee and as a council in seeking out opportunities and facility to name something after Mr. Copse, as well as Sheila Copse. So this doesn't in any way eliminate the other efforts. It's just an inclusion of our efforts. So I thank you for your support in advance.
Thank you very much. Councillor Farr.
I just want to commend first and foremost the Ward 4 Councillor, Councillor Marula, who really is Ward 4 and who has been engaging with the many citizens. Very noticeable positive changes, progressive changes have occurred in the last a little while, especially I've noticed, probably because I'm working alongside Sam, but it wasn't too far off. In fact, it was out front Holy Family Church probably about 9-10 years ago, because Jake was in a little carriage on the 12-speed bicycle, and I was riding on the sidewalk, and one of the last words Geraldine said to me as I was slowly approaching, riding my bike on the sidewalk to say a friendly hello, because it had been a while, was actually in a tone that was way up here, and she said, "It's a sidewalk." So here I am trying to be friendly, and Geraldine's just being Geraldine. And this is right around the corner from where this project is happening. And the pipeline, I could start telling stories and we'd go 40 minutes. You know the way I like to talk about it. I won't. I'll just say it's a big part of my childhood. I got lots of stories I can tell about the pipeline. And it's remarkable, the transformation that's occurring. And I can't think of a better name to put on it. So congratulations to everybody in Ward 4.
We agree. We agree. So on the motion you have before you, recognizing Geraldine Copps and all of her great work. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Another acknowledgement of another individual that some of us served with, Councillor Pearson. Councillor Ferguson couldn't be here. Councillor Pearson's going to put forward a motion regarding Ann Sloat in the Old Town Hall in Ancaster.
Yes, sir. It's with honor as Councillor Ferguson unfortunately is unable to attend this evening, and I'm more than happy to put this motion forward. It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Arlene Vanderbeek. It's the naming of Ancaster Old Town Hall forecourt to Ann Sloat forecourt. Whereas Ann Sloat served as the Mayor of Ancaster from 1973 to 1984, a member of Provincial Parliament in 1985, and a Wentworth Regional Councillor and Deputy Mayor of Ancaster before amalgamation in 2000. Whereas Ann Sloat has contributed to the Ancaster community not only through her elected positions as Mayor and Deputy Mayor, but also served on the Ancaster Hydro Commission for 11 years, as well as Ancaster School Trustee and a Chair of the Wentworth County Board of Education from 1971 to 1972. Whereas the forecourt of the Old Town Hall, 310 Wilson Street, Ancaster, has never been officially named. And whereas Ann Sloat's health is failing and her family have approved and feel it is appropriate to name this area in the Ancaster Village Core in front of the Old Town Hall, the Ann Sloat forecourt. And whereas the request for renaming of this forecourt meets the guidelines and regulations for the naming of municipal property and buildings in the City of Hamilton. Therefore, be it resolved that staff begin the process of naming the facility forecourt feature located at 310 Wilson Street East, Ancaster, as the Ann Sloat forecourt, with a report to come to the Facility Naming Subcommittee for its review and approval at the February 2nd, 2017 meeting, and B, that any costs associated with the naming of the Ann Sloat forecourt be funded at an upwards cost of $3,500 from the Heritage Building Repairs account 54401-792601.
Thank you. So moved and seconded. It's before you. Do you want to speak to that or leave it as is?
I'll speak to it very briefly.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to work with Ann Sloat. I had met her several times, especially when we were in our local municipalities at the time of trying to deal with amalgamation or trying not to see amalgamation go forward. She is a wonderful woman. It was always a pleasure talking to her, even in her raspy voice, but she was very passionate for her community and the whole city. And certainly I'm honored that Councillor Ferguson has asked me to move this for him.
Thank you. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just very quickly, Anne and her husband and children were very close friends with my in-laws and with my husband. And I'm here because of Ann Sloat. And she encouraged me over the years, and I will tell you that is one formidable woman, I'll tell you. She's just great. She's a straight shooter. I love her to death, and was just very, very pleased to have gotten to know her through the marriage to my husband. But Anne, this is just so deserving. She's just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and so I want to thank Councillor Pearson for bringing this forward. As I say, I'm here because of Ann Sloat, and I'm proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Partridge, if you could take the chair for a moment. And I would say
Absolutely.
that I am here despite Ann Sloat. We had lots of interesting and challenging debates, and she would admit, and she said this often, that she was just a crusty old broad that wanted to set us all straight.
Absolutely.
And make sure that we knew that there was strength in Ancaster and strength in her voice. A very strong-minded, strong-willed individual that set us straight often. And rightfully so. But she was always quick with a joke, or always is quick with a joke, a good line, and could set you straight, could cut you verbally, but so nicely that you couldn't possibly respond in any kind of an effective way. It was just a total slap down that really kind of made you just sit down and shut up. That was Ann Sloat, and so she's a wonderful person. This is a good acknowledgement, especially for the area of Ancaster. I mean, she was deeply passionate about Ancaster, and of course served as mayor for quite some time, and on regional council until I think the amalgamation. I don't know. I can't recall if it was slightly before or just at amalgamation that she retired, but served this community in so many different ways spectacularly well. So great acknowledgement, and certainly we would expect full support on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Partridge, thank you. Anyone else? If not, the motion's before you. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek, a motion respecting funding accounts for Claremont Access housekeeping item as I understand it.
Yes, a housekeeping item for Public Works. Whereas the 2016-17 short-term repair work for the Claremont Access will total $1.1 million and was not identified in the 2017 to 2026 capital project forecast. Therefore, be it resolved that a new capital project number 404-171-4001-2017 Claremont Access Stabilization Repair for the budgeted amount of $1.1 million be approved, and B, that the required $1.1 million for the Claremont Access repair be funded from the $2.2 million available in the Roads, Bridges and Traffic Capital Reserve number 108041. C, that the approximately $350,000 in expenditures and commitments to date for the Claremont Access stabilization that has been charged to the 2017 escarpment slope and I'll choke on this one. Appurtenance, sorry. Stabilization capital project be transferred to capital project 404-171-4001. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Donna Skelly, whose ward the Claremont Access is in.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jackson, no comment?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, obviously this is a priority one. I strongly support this, but through you to General Manager Dan McKinnon. Dan, there was assurances given at Public Works last week that there's earmarked about $400,000, give or take, annually to do some proactive work with the other 17 or 18 escarpment passes where needed, where necessary, every year across the city. And I just want confirmation for the record here tonight at Council that if the $400,000 is part of being drawn to help the Claremont, that some way $400,000 will be replenished, or is that what you're referring to in C? Mr. Mayor, through you, please.
Director Dan McKinnon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that's exactly what item C is in the recommendation.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? None. Thank you. On item 8.1, Councillor Jackson, will you at least present your notice of motion?
So, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm keeping it as a notice of motion tonight. I won't read it all out because I hope to get that opportunity in 2 weeks. But just for those listening in on Cable 14 tonight, it's the review of the pawnbrokers and cash for gold businesses in Hamilton. And if you can believe it, Mr. Mayor, this act, the Pawnbrokers Act, dates back to the 19th century. I was not here at that time, Mr. Mayor, so I think it's timely to possibly have a good conversation and discussion over this. And if Council approves the notice of motion to be a motion 2 weeks from now and is referred to planning, you're going to hear some horror stories with delegates that are going to come in. But it's as a notice tonight. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marula. Notice of motion, you're going to waive the rules.
Yes, and it's before you, and it's related to the 2017 tax-supported user fees. I've been asked, as a direct result of my being Deputy Mayor last month, to present it. It's before you. So I move that we, it's a notice of motion, move that we waive the rules, seconded by Councillor Collins.
Thank you. All in favor?
Carried. And the motion's before you, and that's seconded by Councillor Collins.
Again, another housekeeping item. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We will go to items of interest, members of council. I'll start with Councillor Johnson, and we'll work around this way.
Thank you. One very quick one. There will be a special day of discussion on a very interesting and sensitive political topic, human trafficking, this Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. at Beth Jacobs Synagogue on Aberdeen in Ward 1. I was asked to promote this event, and it's a privilege to do so. All are welcome at this special event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Farr.
Mr. Mayor, a couple of events. Saturday, Feb 4, Winterfest kicks off. I know you're usually there. I'll wait for you to decide whether or not your schedule permits, but our opening ceremonies are at 1:30 at Pier 4 Park. all around our community rink there. And on February 11th, It's Your Festival is hosting a special evening of food and music pasta. It's a buffet dinner. Tickets are $15 to fundraise for that great annual Gage Park It's Your Festival. JasonFarr.com for all sorts of details on wonderful community events and happenings. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Green.
Thank you very much. And so I just wanted to reflect on the march that we hosted here at City Hall and give a big shout out to Anna Davey and Tanya Day Ritchie, who in very short term organized roughly 750 women, men, non-binary folks to come down from across all different backgrounds. And it was really a beautiful moment, I thought, where women were able to stand up and have their voices heard, and allies were able to be by to support them. And there was also a very large contingent from Hamilton that went down to Washington to address some of the issues that are being presented right now. So I just wanted to acknowledge the organizers and activists in the community who are standing up for their rights and rights of others. I think that was a very beautiful moment here. And certainly thank you for being present, as well as Councillor Aidan Johnson. And I'd like to also thank the members of all of our communities, and particularly Rosie, who is always here for us in the city to be able to set up and tear down, and the staff that they have here did a great job. I know Sandra and others are here today. I just want to give that shout out to Rosie. On Saturday, February the 4th, as you know, Black History Month will be coming up here quickly upon us. The Spirit of Harriet Tubman is going to be at the Lincoln Alexander Theatre. And forgive me, Mr. Mayor, actually, in that, as a reminder, we were able to gather and celebrate Lincoln Alexander Day last week, which was put on by Maxine Carter, and we had Senator Don Meredith come down and pay tribute. It was a beautiful day with the family there present to recognize what we have deemed, the Spectator at least anyways, the greatest Hamiltonian. So I just wanted to put that out there as well and thank the organizers for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to Chris Murray, I've been getting a number of people calling me and emailing me regarding the proposed, or guess what the word is on the street, surrounding early retirements or retirements. And back at Amalgamation, there was a significant contention, particularly from our perspective, a political perspective, of providing lottery ticket winnings to basically have people retire early. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Chris, can you elaborate on this issue and whether or not we're going to go down the same road or not? Because I think there's no, at this point, appetite to be spending a lot of money severing employees. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Chris.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, and as everyone around this circle well knows, and everyone sitting up here, we have a very significant budget challenge, not just in 2017, but certainly over the next 4 years. So I'm hearing the same thing. I'm hearing people wondering whether or not we're going to have a program like that occurred just around Amalgamation time, where people who are eligible to retire, had their numbers, as it said. There was a program where we were incenting them to leave. So that's the councillor's question. The firm answer is no. There's no lottery. There's no program to incent people to leave. And the simple reason is that in that particular case, I think there were a number of people that we paid to leave. So we lost their knowledge, but then we ended up hiring people back to replace them. So that makes no sense. Anything that we're doing right now, as you know, next month the departments are going to be making their departmental presentations. Senior leadership team met today and will be meeting over there next long while to try to deal with this budget pressure that we have, not just this year, but going down the road. So, 4.4% is where we stand right now, with an asterisk, meaning simply that after we do all of our good work, the education tax, which usually benefits us, isn't going this year. It's because we have mixed blessings. We have a wildly hot housing market. Our real estate values are going way up, which is placing more burden on the residential taxpayer. As you well know, that's not a good thing. So we have a real challenge. So we're looking at our organization. Are there opportunities for consolidations? Are there positions? Certainly, we'll start with the non-union. To look at where there might be some opportunities for some consolidated service delivery, and certainly, you know, if there's a chance to find some savings there, we're certainly going to do that. So, but the specifics of this, what we're going to do is going to be communicated next month. Sometime around the middle to the end of February, we'll come down with the kinds of savings that we think we can achieve without creating any major service delivery impacts to the organization.
Councillor Rowe.
So I guess rest assured at this point that is music to everyone's ears, firstly. And secondly, I think communicating it earlier rather than later is a great thing. But I do want to commend to you, Mr. Murray, for his aggressive vision on this particular file. I know it's going to go a long way in a short period of time in mitigating our challenges, and I just want to commend him publicly, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Collins. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to provide some advance notice to residents of the East Mountain. There's going to be probably a good dozen or more streets that between major streets and courts and crescents that are going to be resurfaced, repaved, sidewalks replaced. This coming year, they'll be receiving a letter from my office over the next couple of months between February and March, preparing for the construction season, the road construction season this summer. So, Mr. Mayor, this is my only public service announcement tonight, and I'm just going to quickly read off. Upper Ottawa, many, many residents of the East Mountain have been advocating for a major asset renewal resurfacing of Upper Ottawa sidewalk replacement. So from the Brow to Reno Avenue, just south of Mohawk, that's up for upgrades this summer. Fennel Avenue is as well. And then some of the smaller areas, Fern Place, Doreen Court, Tilbury Court, Filer Court, Cecilia Court. And then in the Sherwood neighborhood, Mr. Mayor, this will be phase 2 of upgrades to these roads and sidewalks and improving them with the infrastructure modernization. Brucedale, Edgewood, Elmhurst, Margate, Morningside, Princeton, Southwood, Valecrest, and Woodside Drive, but they'll be getting a letter from me in the next couple of months to confirm. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Skelly. Nothing for you. Okay, for myself, just to piggyback on Councillor Green's comments on the gathering at City Hall of many people, and some have characterized it as an anti-Trump gathering, and I quite disagree. It was an anti-Islamophobic, anti-racism, anti-discrimination, anti-misogyny, and all the other isms that we can think of. I think demonstration of the kind of intolerance that we're seeing in some quarters that many people are speaking against, and I think that's wholly appropriate, and I fully support the women that went to the march in Washington, and certainly the many women and men that came out to City Hall and across the country in every community to speak against those kinds of measures of intolerance that we should continue to speak against. So I give them full kudos for the organizers and full thanks for their effort. We need to speak up when those issues are brought up, and thankfully there are many that will. On another note, I was delighted to participate in or visit the AIDS Network Clinic and Needle Exchange location at what used to be Terminal Towers, which is now called, I can't remember. Terminal Towers is a lousy name for a mall, by the way. I'm not sure who came up with that, but notwithstanding, it is there, and there's some great people working there. And if you have an opportunity, just got to get a sense of what's going on out there in terms of the addiction areas and the AIDS network and the work that the workers are doing. I want to compliment Tim McClement and the executive director of the AIDS network, and Heather Watson, who is an addiction outreach worker that is helping those that are challenged in our community in addiction in a compassionate and a very caring way. It's really quite amazing. And then the following night, or last night, I had the opportunity of traveling around in the needle exchange van that moves around our community. It's been in existence since 1991, and obviously helping people in their addiction issues do it safely and cleanly and not spread disease. And non-judgmental public health nurse Sherry Lynn Penner-Cluche and Lisa Warkentin are out there every night from 8 o'clock to midnight, helping folks in our community with addiction issues with not only the proper equipment and safety, but naloxone kits to help them if they happen to run into trouble. and obviously sending a message out there of doing these things safely and cleanly, and that gives them an opportunity to live for another day to hopefully get off of their addiction. I mean, it is an awakening for sure to go out there and see what's happening in our community, in all areas of our community. So this notion that these addiction issues are all inner city, lower city, poor folks that are challenged by this is a myth. It is pervasive, and it's across all income stratas in all parts of our community, the mountain, Ancaster, you name it, Waterdown. No area of our city is immune, and I'm just thrilled to know that there are some compassionate and caring people out there working day and night to try and help these folks. We're going to have a symposium on Friday that I invite you to attend, of all the healthcare workers and police and fire and all first responders, to make sure that we're ready for what's already happening out there. Carfentanil is already out there, and I spoke to a number of individuals last night who are users that have bumped into this unusually powerful drug, and fortunately have lived to talk about it, but now are fearful of that drug as well, and are making some changes to avoid that. But it is a problem that is not as prevalent here as it is in the western provinces right now, but it is growing very, very quickly, and we need to be mindful of that. So I just want to invite you to participate and maybe learn about the width and breadth of this issue, and hopefully also understand the kind of activities that are happening to try and help people through their addiction issues and hopefully save some lives. So I want to thank all of the workers I mentioned here today that are doing some really outstanding work in our community on our behalf and on behalf of our citizens out there that are challenged with these addictions. And on that note, I have nothing further. Thank you. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just very quickly, this Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning, I have the pleasure of dropping the puck for the Flamborough girls hockey winter chill tournament that they hold. They hold it annually, and I look so forward to it. And these girls just play, honest to God. They have amazing talent, and they really, really go at it. So I love watching the tournament. We get about 1,000 to 1,500 people who will show up throughout the day, and it's open to everybody. So if you have a chance, come on up to Harry Howell Arena at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you. 2 items, if my voice holds out. There's bridge work coming to Dundas up by District Lofts, which is the west end of King Street. And I've had a few phone calls about the signs that have been erected. In advance of that anticipated work, the city's undertaking a municipal class environmental assessment, and that's basically what those signs say. They'll be assessing many things, and the intent is to identify eventually a preferred alternative about how they're going to deal with that bridge. There's a public meeting, and it is an open house style. It will be held on Wednesday, February 1st from 6 o'clock till 8 in the gym at the Dundas Baptist Church, which is the church at 201 Governors Road. So that's Wednesday, February the 1st, 6 to 8 at the Dundas Baptist Church. And the other thing I wanted to note is that the Dundas Valley Orchestra is holding a free concert this coming Sunday, January 29th at 3 o'clock at St. Paul's Church. And I mentioned that when the mayor and I were in their toy symposium at Christmas time, and it was a really good concert. So if you're interested, it's free, and it's at St. Paul's Church this Sunday at 3. Thanks.
Are you going to be working what were you
The Nightingale.
The Nightingale, yeah, and I was on the drums. I'd love to do that again.
We're a real team.
Yeah, no kidding. Councillor Johnson.
Yes, sir. I have some public announcements. For any of the details, please go to my website, brendajohnson.ca, or call the office and we can give you more details. On February the 8th is the Soup Fest for Case United Church, and this is in Mount Hope. On February the 11th, we have a 50s and 60s dinner in support of Sinclair United Church. And for some of you that don't know this, Sinclairville is the most southern part of the city of Hamilton as a whole. And it's going to be at the Bimbrook Ag Hall. And on February the 12th, Bimbrook is having their ice fishing derby at the Bimbrook Conservation Authority. And on February the 13th, there will be a public meeting for the proposed firearms discharge bylaw at the Glanbrook Municipal Building at 6 o'clock to 8:30. And I want to thank all the volunteers who came out for the Winona outdoor rink. We put the plastics together. We had 2 pieces, huge pieces of plastic that were donated by Terra Nurseries. And we rolled it up. We did everything proper. We taped it down, and unfortunately the tape didn't take. The plastic just went bizarre. So it's still not open. We have to get the volunteers back on Saturday to put everything back together again. So hopefully the kids will get some skating in between now and the end of the winter time.
Who's that?
Okay, sorry. And just to let you know that there's been some media attention about the odor issues that are in the Mount Hope Village. The staff have been working fast and furious on this for the past 4 years, so they're still they're still trying to deal with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand drop letters throughout the entire village of Mount Hope for people to take part in a survey. And if they can't do the survey on the computer, please call the number on the letter and they will walk you through it on the phone. And then we're going to have a public meeting to discuss what the improvements that have been put in place, what's been on order, what's going to take care of the odors. And in the meantime, if you smell this odor and it's coming from the airport, please contact 905-540-5188. This is the hotline, 24/7 hotline, and as soon as they get the call, they come out and they investigate. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few messages of events coming up. So tomorrow night, there's the ongoing, we've had the rounds of the LRT meetings going through the community. So this one will be tomorrow night at Cardinal Newman Catholic Secondary School at 127 Gray Road, Stony Creek, from 7 to 9 p.m. with the presentation starting at 7. That'll be followed by a question and answer. Hope that many residents come out and get some information as to exactly what will be going on. Hamilton Winterfest is coming February the 4th to the 20th in 2017. Don't know that we're going to have snow, but for a list of the events, you can visit hamiltonwinterfest.ca. The kickoff event is at February the 4th from 1 to 4 at Pier 8 to 47 Discovery Drive. And also this coming up is the 4th annual First Responders Night that will be held on February the 11th, starting at 7 p.m. at First Ontario Centre. This year, the Hamilton Bulldogs will be taking on the Windsor Spitfires, will be hosting approximately 50 representatives and VIPs from Windsor First Responders departments, bringing the two communities together. Tickets start at $14. You can call Justin Ismail at 905-546-8181 to order tickets. Let's show our support to the many men and women who serve our community and to our special guests from Windsor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Definitely be attending the Winterfest opening and going for a skate. So bring your skates. I'll be going to Waterdown too to do the loop. Go ahead.
One last, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just tucked it underneath here. I didn't get a chance at the beginning when we recognized Alfredine Plourde of Stony Creek as the a recipient of the Sovereigns Award this year. As a resident in my ward, I wanted to commend her, and I will offline as well. But she does an extraordinary job. She's very passionate. And earlier this evening, I congratulated her out in the atrium. She's very nervous. And I told her there's nothing to be nervous about. You're going to do fine. And I just wanted to comment and compliment her on the fact that it is because of her passion that she's able to express what she did before us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Connolly.
Thank you. I have two items. One, it was my privilege to be at Gore Park on Saturday from 12 noon to about 2:30, and we gave out hats, mitts, scarves, and socks to over 200 homeless or other people, and we gave out 150 cups of coffee, and I want to thank Tim Hortons for donating the coffee for that. And and we also gave out 125 coupons for pizza, and the pizza store is right across the street. So the guys, they could get their hats and mitts and go across and get a hot meal sort of thing. So it was really good. I want to thank the Kindness Outreach Committee that I'm a part of for doing this. We do this every year, and every year we get more people coming in. So, the need is there. The need is there. So I'd just like to thank everybody for that. And actually, Jason Farr came out for a few minutes and introduced himself and thanked us for coming and that kind of stuff. So that was nice. The other thing I want to mention is there's a group called Connect Communities, and they're having an open house at 26 Upper Mount Albion this weekend. And they're a group that actually, they want to build a building to hold 12 people that have brain injuries. And they treat the brain injuries, they try to get them back into society, and it's really, they haven't built it yet. There's going to be another year before it's up. But it's an open house to let you know what's going on, and if you can make it, I think they would appreciate it. So it's 1 to 4 on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And if anyone's still within earshot here of council members, we are going into camera on a issue. So just to let them know that if they're still in the ante room, that please join us. And so I will take a motion to move into camera. So the motion to move into camera is an update on stadium litigation pursuant to Section 8.1, subsection E and F of the city's procedural bylaw 14,300 and Section 2392, subsection E and F of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001, as amended as the subject matter pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the city and the receiving of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Moved by Councillor Partridge, seconded by Councillor Conley. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. We'll be about a few minutes to let Cable 14